Hello. Right. Okay. That's now working. Why is desktop audio not working? That's got to be a question I have to ask myself. Can you talk for a second? One of you. Here we go.
Hello.
There we go. All right. Talk now.
Hello.
Here we go.
Hello.
Right.
Hi.
Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Perfect. Right. We're all good. We're all gravy. I'm sure there's a lot of comments right now saying you can't hear us. But welcome to the Michael Masi Gone Watch Along. Not Watch Along, live reaction.
We're watching Michael Masi
Watching
leave the
him pack up his
FIA.
box.
Tommy,
Yeah.
for me, it's the Ferrari F1 thumbnail. You didn't change the thumbnail, Tommy. We're having an No, it says the Ferrari one for me. I've done it now. I've changed it.
Okay, perfect.
This has been an absolute chaotic 5 minutes, but Michael Masi is
It's showing us mine. All right, okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Right, so
it's been a
hello,
chaotic.
everybody.
I'm blaming the FIA
for launching it at the same time.
What is that all about?
Oh, they were trying to hide it, weren't they?
They're trying to hide it. It was either going to happen during Ferrari, or it was going to happen during Mercedes yesterday. So,
do you think that's what they did then? They're trying to like
100%.
sweep it under the rug.
They're trying to hide it. Everyone's watching the Ferrari watch along or whatever, and they're thinking, "Oh, if we just sneak this out now, we won't get immediate everybody on our case. They'll be like, oh, the Ferrari looks nice,' and then it's kind of like, and Massi's been fired as well. So cheeky from the FIA." But I had a feeling that would happen.
Very cheeky, slightly disrespectful to Ferrari, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I think it is very disrespectful. They should have done it. They could have at least, well, no, if they'd done it before, it would have overshadowed, say.
Or just do it a few hours later. I mean,
yeah, or just stop being absolute, like admit your mistake and just say he's gone. Like, you have to do it. It's very, appalling timing from the FIA there.
I'm going to change the title to Fired. I think it sounds better. Fired from Michael Masi, fired from F1. fired from. Is that it? Should we call it fired from Formula One? Just fired.
He might still come back in some sort of role.
Fired from race director role.
It's still the Ferrari thumb for some reason.
Fired as race director. Okay, there we go. Michael Masi fired as race director. Live reaction. Yeah, and you're getting it. It's pure. It's raw. We have absolutely no raw. Preparation for this. Usually there's lots of notes that go on for the podcast, but instead we're just vibing. We're just vibing at Michael Masi being fired. Right, okay, sorry. I'm going to create a structure in my head, which is, to be honest, most of the time with most of my work. Tommy.
Yes.
What's your 3-word Michael Masi fire review?
It was inevitable.
Nice. What's your 3-word?
Oh, that's good.
That was actually quite good for my brain.
That was really good.
I was expecting it was nice. But well done, Tommy. I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Okay, and what about yours, Katie? What would be your 3-word Michael Masi fire review?
It was time.
Okay, right. We can't all
That's
just
kind of
use
similar
it
to
was.
Tommy's, though.
Come on.
Okay. Bye-bye, Michael.
Wow. Bye-bye, Michael. And I would go with
bye, Michael.
Absolutely, utterly deserved. There you go. Because, look, if we reflect not purely on the to be fair, it's not like we were questioning his role just after Abu Dhabi, were we?
No.
Like, there was inconsistencies throughout the entirety of the time in which he was race director. We had many scary moments, many moments that we haven't usually seen in Formula One that have posed a safety risk. Rogue marshals running around and having a bit of bants, and there's all kinds of moments where we've gone, geez, okay. Like, for example, Imola. Was that 2020? Was that when Lance Stroll was it last? I think it was 2020.
It was Imola 2020.
Marshals were on the track and Lance Stroll was going full speed, and marshals were literally just on the side of the track. You've got a rogue marshal at Bahrain that went to go and put out the Perez electrical fire, from what I remember. And many other inconsistencies in terms of the actual rulings as well, not just safety.
Tractors on track.
Tractor on track.
Sending them out in qualifying in Turkey 2020 when there's still a tractor on track.
Safety car in Baku for Max's puncture, and Leclerc was on the radio going, "This is a joke. How have you not?" Like, Max is walking down the pit straight at 200 miles, like cars coming past at 200 miles an hour, and you've not brought out the safety car yet.
Yeah.
So a lot was going on.
And then if we look at Abu Dhabi in a nutshell, just as one isolated incident, it's fireable, isn't it? Really, because I know there's going to be. I'm sure there's a lot of salt shakers that are going to come flying through. I'm not talking about who deserved to win the championship, who didn't. Whatever the result and whoever was involved, the way in which Michael Masi bent the rule book was something that was not acceptable. You even had Alex Jakes in Channel 4 commentary trying his very best to be objective, but he was like, Michael Masi has lost his reins on this race, or whatever it was, or he's losing strength on the race. Whatever he said, basically, it was getting out of control. Like, literally, everybody thought that he was losing control, and the final race was just the cherry on top of all the mistakes that had happened. And now it poses the question of, is it going to be better or worse with these two new people involved, which I've never heard of until this very moment. Tommy hadn't either. Katy, have you heard of these people? Do you know much about them?
So Hannah, who is our wonderful WTF1
Here we
intern,
go. Yes,
she
Hannah's
actually, so good on Hannah. She actually had an article ready to go live today about who could replace Michael Masi.
Hello.
And then lovely FIA decided to publish news before we published the article. But yeah, they were both people that she had as candidates for this role. Let me just pull up the information about them.
So basically our intern works for the FIA.
Yeah. But Hannah is an insider.
We've got people in places.
Let me have a look. Here they are.
Eduardo is the WEC race director.
Okay.
So and Niels Wittich is the DTM race director. So they're both
solid.
They are both race directors.
They're not brand new.
No, Eduardo's been doing race director at the WEC Championship for 20 years.
You'll recognise him.
He's got a lot of experience.
If you ever listen, I'm pretty sure this is who it is. If you listen to a WC race or Le Mans and watch Le Mans, they actually have the live radio a lot, and you can hear, the guy with the chill voice. I've just seen someone in the comments, and he's like, "We're going live shortly. Everybody get ready." And he's there, he seems a very good, calm and composed guy. But Formula One is, whether he's calm when you've got Toto Wolff and
they're not allowed to.
Horner, but this is it. Yeah. So I think it would be what we need is someone that's more assertive, because like you were saying earlier, Michael Masi, he was making it up as he went along, but also at the same time just crumbling under what anyone said. It felt like Toto and Christian were deciding what was going on. One week. Yes, the final decision.
Sorry, Tommy.
Sorry.
I've just seen a comment. The Wecker here. They've just gone, "Hi there."
They've lost their race director.
Hi there.
He's very good.
Hi, Weck.
Hello, WC. So that's brilliant. But yeah, he lost control at the end, but was also at the same time he finally went against sort of Wolff and Horner and just made his own rules up on the spot. But he should have been doing that from the start of just I don't care what you guys are saying. I make the rules, these are the rules. But because he did it in such a awful way, broke the rules, finally stood up to it, that was not the time to stand up to all of that. That should have been done ages ago. And it's just been chaos. So it's about time someone new. And I'm hoping, they get they need more support as well, I think. Yeah. Because it's clear that Michael Masi had just lost complete respect from pretty much everyone in the paddock, and that was the main problem, is that they knew they could get onto him. They knew, we've seen that Red Bull new footage, which wasn't new but got shared around and went massive, of Jonathan Wheatley sort of saying, "Just get the 5 cars out the way," and then they do that. They know that they could get in his head, because he was just sort of crumbling a bit under whatever they were saying and being too heavily influenced. We saw Carlos Sainz in COTA, where he got a penalty, and then he just didn't later on. It's you've got a penalty, you need to let him through, and Carlos was like, "No," and then there was no penalty. So they knew they could get away
some
with it.
of that, I think I said it as well at the time, is down to the lack of communication as well, potentially something wrong going with the actual, the way in which team radios are delivered to the audience. We don't know what's actually happened behind the scenes, and I think that obviously was a problem in that as well, because I can't imagine they'd just be like, "Penalty," no penalty, and it kind of ended there. I'm sure there were conversations, but you can't feed something to an audience and then not tell them the end result. You can't just sweep it under the carpet. So it is still very important to get that right. Worth mentioning, actually, obviously you got Freitas and Wittisch, whatever, terrible pronunciation. But you've also got them assisted by a permanent senior advisor in Herbie Blash, who was formerly Charlie Whiting's deputy. So I think that in itself will be very helpful moving forward, because clearly they've not just gone Michael Masi is 100% at fault. They've also thought, right, the structure's not right. We can't just have one person in charge unless it's literally Charlie Whiting, who was incredible at his job. So they're trying to do things differently and sort of implement a better support structure, which is always great. But there are a few things actually that we've learned from this. Not just that, haven't we? We've got I'm on therace.com. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Amazing for news and in-depth articles, as well as WTF1.com, of course, Katy FM and the WTF1 author. They've announced further changes to reinforce F1's officiating in a presentation entitled A New Step Forward in Formula One Refereeing. So there's going to be a new virtual race control room that will be created that has been likened to football's VAR, which will assist the race director in making decisions. You got to think, well, what did they have before? What happened? No, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, were they not looking at videos before?
Yeah, I know.
Was someone on a typewriter telling them what happened and writing to them, and then they read it as a transcript?
Sing it through.
Rather than watching the replays.
God knows. Katy, you're on the ground in your WTF1 author booth. What are you making of it all?
Well, I'm just glad that firstly, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, who is the new FIA president, obviously joining in this new role. What a time to join. He had everybody on social media and just generally everywhere getting upset with how Abu Dhabi ended. So Jean Todt was quite lucky in the sense that he was like, okay, well, I'm retiring, so see you later, and just managed to walk out, leaving everything like on fire, and just be like, see you later, I'm out. So I do
SpongeBob meme intensifies.
Yeah, literally, being like, see you later. So yeah, Ben Sulayem had to make sure that what he was going to implement was a real stand against everything that had happened before him, and that he was going to introduce this change. So he said that he proposed an in-depth reform of the organization that includes the refereeing and also race direction, and his ideas were unanimously agreed and supported by the team principals and the CEO Stefano Domenicali. But I am happy to see that, one, the race director role isn't going to be one sort of lone wolf being allowed to just make his own decisions. It's going to be more of a group effort. And also, Formula One is a sport that embraces technology more than most sports, whether that's the technical development of the cars, or that's, how we monitor things like the boards on the side of the track showing that it's a red flag or there's rain on the track. Technology is in Formula One's DNA. So I'm glad that they've finally sort of taken that to also the refereeing decisions, and hopefully just making life a bit easier for the guys, because we can all sit here in our armchairs and say, I would have done this differently, I would have done that differently. But it's an incredibly difficult position to be in. And when you feel like you've got the whole world like yabbering on in your ear, whether that's Jonathan Wheatley or Christian Horner or Toto Wolff or whoever it might be, I imagine it can feel very lonely and also a very precious situation. So anything that the FIA can do to sort of alleviate that stress and make it just more of a collaborative environment for everyone involved, I think the better for the sport, really. So I'm surprised, I'll be honest, in the last few days, I did think I was leaning more to the fact that Masi might keep his job. But, he has been taken from that position. I don't think it's the last we're going to see of him in the FIA, because I think although he's got, his name's been tarnished quite a lot by what happened in Abu Dhabi and before then, he's still somebody with an awful lot of knowledge. He worked on Australian V8 supercars. He helped with proposals for when F1 visited tracks like Singapore, and he knows a lot about the safety of the sport. So I think they'd be silly to let him go from FIA entirely. Whether he wants to stay is another thing. He might think, oh, well, if you don't have faith and confidence in me in the role of the race director, maybe I just don't want to be here, full stop. Maybe I'll go back to Australia and I'll go back to doing my supercars or whatever it might be. But yeah, I feel like I just talked for really long, so sorry. But,
you're right about the pressure though, because like it eases that pressure, because however much it was, said it's the worst decision he could have possibly made going into that thing. It's so easy for everyone to be sort of like, to see it and go, oh, I can't believe you did that. Whereas the situation was, it couldn't have been any more high pressure that we finally had this title battle. It came down to literally the final laps. And yes, he broke the rules, but the other side of the coin was the fact that one of the greatest world championship battles ever was going to end behind the safety car, when all the teams agreed they shouldn't make it behind the safety car. So there's doubts in your mind of like, oh, I'm going to get so much hate if this goes behind the safety car. And I'm not saying that, there's no way it should have ended the way it did, but also you've got to think that even if it had ended under the safety car and Max had pitted for softs and blah, 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 it wouldn't have been as bad because he didn't break the rules essentially, and it just ended under the safety car. But the media pressure would have been exactly the same, of people like, oh, Mercedes favorite, you just wanted Lewis to win. Max was on soft tires. You needed another lap and we could have had this amazing showdown to the title. So he was kind of doomed either way. But I think it's more on the fact that, well, yeah, one, he made the worst decision and broke the whole rules of the sport. And two, it's all the other pressure from before as well. The fact that there were all these mistakes that we were talking about at the start. So, yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I don't envy the position he was in. He was doomed if he did, doomed if he didn't. And I think obviously, if it, the only way, because obviously the whole conversation, which I find strange anyway, is the fact we don't want to end the championship under a safety car. Like, that's not something that's putting entertainment over the sporting integrity and the safety, which you can't rush a safety car because they need to finish it under green. So for me, it's that in itself is just a bit weird that was the kind of thing going into it. So obviously Masi had that pressure, and the only way he would have gotten away with it is if he'd flown a red flag. And to be honest, I'm surprised he didn't. Still surprised he didn't. If that was the pressure that he had, nobody would have had a go at him. Maybe some Lewis Hamilton fans, for the fact that Lewis has obviously lost this advantage. But then the safety car's out anyway. So if he really wants this this amazing finish, you do that. Then both drivers can change tyres, and away they go.
I was going to say, even if they went for a red flag in Abu Dhabi, obviously Hamilton would have benefited anyway because he'd be able to change his tyres.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm surprised that it wasn't called as a red flag. But then the whole season, we've seen delays to red flags being called, whether that was in Baku, as Tommy mentioned earlier, with the whole scenario with Verstappen, or even Mick Schumacher in Saudi Arabia, when he smacked into that barrier, is exactly the same place that we saw Charles Leclerc do on the Friday. And I remember messaging at the time to Tommy, being like, that's evidently a red flag. He's completely demolished the barriers. That's going to have to be repaired. Yet in that whole time, it was Hamilton, wasn't he? He pitted, he got new tyres, Max stayed out, and then a red flag was called after that. Why was that not an immediate decision? I know that there has been, in looking at the records, more red flag races recently than there has been in previous years. But at the end of the day, safety is number one priority here. It doesn't matter if 50% of races in 2021 were red flagged or whatever statistic it might have turned out to be. Safety is safety. So I'm surprised we didn't get a red flag in Abu Dhabi. I feel like that would have been the best decision available.
Yeah, definitely.
He did it in Baku.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. But he even delayed that, didn't he? He delayed that
and
as
you
well.
can argue they did exactly that, where any other race, like we've never seen that before. If a race is red flag with 2 laps to go, you don't have a 2-lap sprint. Yeah. But there's clearly something now where there's no doubt in my mind that Michael Masi has been told to prioritize as much as he possibly can. Obviously there's safety, but he does need to prioritize, the show and the excitement, because there's no way 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, they're in Baku, forget Abu Dhabi, even Baku, they're getting that race underway again after the red flag. So it is this new era where clearly, they're trying to make it as entertaining as possible.
I want to question that, because I feel like a lot of the times red flags come out right at the end of the race is because of heavy rain and they can't race anymore, as opposed to red flag and getting back underway because of dry conditions. I don't think we ever usually see that. And so I don't know if that is the thing where they just sack it off. I think it's usually when they can't race anymore due to the conditions and then they run out of time, unless you've got examples that go against that. I feel that's...
Think of people, crashing at the end and then red flagging it and not going, but yeah, it's one of those things. I need to look into that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it's usually they just fly a safety car, don't they? Or put out a safety car. They don't tend to usually red flag right at the end of a race. But either way, it's a strange situation, and I'm glad they put it back underway. I don't think there's many people out there, apart from obviously the driver that gets hindered the most in the lead, that's going to really have much problem with a red flag. I love a red flag. It means that we get another start again, and it's exciting. Obviously, it's a bit crazy when we get red flag after red flag. But I don't think there's many people out there that would, be against, firstly, putting safety at the paramount and the top of, the priority list, but also getting a restart. It's exciting, apart from maybe sprint haters, because apparently they don't like more than one race start in a weekend. Other things to mention, Michael Masi will be offered a new position within the FIA. Whether he takes it or not is another matter, whether it'll be, I don't know, the caretaker, or if it'll actually be something, relatively important. You'd imagine he would have an important role, as you said, Katy, because he's got that experience under his belt, even if some of it's probably he went the wrong way. I'm sure that he would have also learned a lot from that, because, we can't say that he is 100% at fault for everything that went on. It's not a one-man show, this. And, we've already said about the teams piling pressure on. So that's something as well that we kind of hinted on, but they won't be able to do. So direct radio communications with the race director during the race will not be broadcast, and that's a shame. And team bosses will not be able to interfere in order to protect the race director from any pressure and allow him to take decisions peacefully. However, there will be some element to contacting race control, but that will be through... It's understood to be, and someone else that they can then filter it through to the race director rather than directly.
That's what we said in one of the podcasts, I think, that they need a third official. Fourth official, like you have in football.
WTF1 for the FIA. I think that's
go to them. It makes perfect sense, because there's no. We did that post where we're saying, should they be allowed or shouldn't they? You can. I've got nothing against Toto Wolff speaking to another person to say, I think this, here's my 2 cents or whatever. And if it's important, that person can then pass it on to Michael Masi or whoever's in charge now. What I don't like is that he can get on the radio and go, no safety car, no safety car, no safety car. And then Horner's on the radio going, please safety car, please safety car. Yeah, exactly. So thank goodness for that. It's awful, because... even as a Max Verstappen fanboy, I absolutely hate. I was playing guitar, so it's
been replaced. He's a Tifosi now. I don't know if you're watching our Ferrari watch along, Katy.
Yeah,
it's a 10 out of 10. Tommy's now put his application in.
I've got my orange on instead. So I've lost my. You've made me lose my train of thought completely now.
That was Katy's fault.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Whatever it was, must have been a great point.
We're talking about radio broadcasting and how talking to a fourth person.
I can see Tommy's face.
It just makes so much more sense to do that, because the influence of someone just getting in your ear all the time is too much. And a 23 race calendar as well. It's like, I don't want to be like, oh, poor guy, but like that must have been exhausting for like everyone involved in the sport. Such a grueling schedule. You probably was just. I imagine half the It's Motor Racing comment was, "I am so done with this. I just want a holiday."
Yeah. It's motor racing. It's probably the last thing I'm going to say now. Goodbye. So
actually, I remembered my point now. I remembered my point. What I was going to say is, even as a Verstappen fanboy and whatever, I absolutely hated the way Hamilton had to lose the title that way. Did not deserve to lose the title that way, and the fact that it's a shame that it's taken this absolute show for this to happen, and it's good that they are doing this and putting things in place. I just wish Abu Dhabi didn't have to happen for this to happen, basically.
Agreed. I think it would, as we mentioned at the top of the show, I think, it was still in conversation even without that, but I think Michael Masi probably would have survived had Abu Dhabi not happened. I think he would have carried on in that role, which again would have been a topic of conversation. Other things to mention: so there's going to be a reassessment of the procedures defining how cars unlap themselves behind the safety car, which to me suggests, with actually no sort of plain statement in terms of what they're actually changing, is that they don't really need to reassess it. The rules are very clear. They just weren't followed, which I think is kind of skirting around the subject there with that one, because of course Masi allowed 5-lap cars to go through, but then didn't allow the rest of them, which was obviously for entertainment's sake. But we've already discussed how bad of a decision that was in terms of sporting integrity. So yeah, I think there's going to be a review there, but I'm not sure they will be very vocal or public with what goes on there, because I don't think they need to change much. I think it's very black and white. You just have to read the rule book. So Ben Sulayem said, with this plan, FIA opens the way for a new step forward in Formula One refereeing. Without the referees, there is no sport. Respect and support of the referees is in the essence of the FIA. That is why these structural changes are crucial in a context of strong development and the legitimate expectations of drivers, teams, manufacturers, organisers, and of course, the fans. So clearly they're taking it very seriously. They've made a big change. Whether it'll be the correct change, we don't know. But on paper, it seems as though it's going to hopefully improve because there's less stress, less impetus on one person to make the decisions.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to how the FIA are going to handle things in 2022 because, as we said, it's a chance for them to have a fresh start. We've got a brand new FIA president. We're going to have brand new F1 race directors, a new change to the way that they referee things. Obviously, the elephant in the room, the whole new 2022 regulations. It's going to be a new technical rule book, a new sporting code. So hopefully F1 can use all this momentum to really push forward for good change. And yes, we can. Well, I don't want to say leave Abu Dhabi in the 2021 season behind us because I think that's,
I don't think people
will
ever get away.
Well, we can never forget what happened. No, we can never forget what happened in Abu Dhabi and the massive injustice that was served there. But yeah, it's just a shame that it had to tarnish what was an unbelievable Formula One season last year. But the amount of outrage is rightfully justified.
We've got Netflix to look forward to and see how they handle that.
They ain't going to handle that sensitively. They are going to go full drama.
They probably had a camera in Masi's face. That's probably why he was so under pressure and didn't know what to do, because they were probably in the. Wouldn't surprise me if they were probably in the room with him filming it. Imagine like maybe Masi had a GoPro on his head like that. Trained TikToker.
God.
Oh, that would be incredible content.
Thought.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, it is sad because the 2021 season was absolutely unbelievable, and this last race very much clouded the season, which is sad. It clouded it for me. I didn't mind who won the title, but the way in which it all went down, even as a neutral, you think, that's a bit over the top, isn't it? We've had so much craziness, so much drama, which wasn't, manufactured for entertainment, but then we had that and you're like, really? Come on. So yeah, it's
in the chat, British bias.
Yeah, British bias. No. Goodness gracious me.
Hang on, let me sort my British bias out. 2 seconds.
Yeah, someone, Tommy's going to go sort his British bias out and put a Max Verstappen cape on. Clearly people weren't watching the Ferrari watch along because I was fanboying hard, and I will fully. Oh, hello, here we go. Yeah, he's put the cape on finally.
British bias. There we go.
I love it. I absolutely
love it. If people are tuning in right now, Tommy, that's not going to look very good, is it?
No. And you're, and to be fair, you are probably one of the most objective and fair Max Verstappen fans I've ever come across.
Yes, it was a travesty the way it was handled. I was extremely happy that Max won. I think he deserved the title.
Yeah.
No doubt he was the best driver throughout the year. I just wish he didn't have to do it in that way because, it was a very odd and peculiar ending where you didn't get that. I personally didn't get that moment of oh my god, this is amazing, because there was that bit in the back of my mind that was that's not quite right. However happy I am, I really wish it didn't have to be done like that. So there you go.
There you go. Right, I think let's have a look at see what people are saying in the chat. Anything interesting? Put your questions in. We'll maybe cover a couple of questions because that's what we usually do on WTF1 podcast when we don't wing it and just go live straight away. So put some questions in the chat. I know it's slightly delayed, so I'll wait for that to happen, and then we can maybe answer a couple.
So I said, wear that at Silverstone.
Oh, do it.
You would though. There's a dare.
Yeah, you would though.
It was actually quite funny when we were at Zandvoort. There was a guy that wore. Do you remember the guy that was in full British? He wore like a suit with Union Jacks all over it and a top hat with Union Jacks all over it, and it was really funny. And people were coming up to him and saying like, "That's hilarious, well done." Whether they'd have said that if Hamilton had won the race, well, I don't know. But
just taking a look at the chat and seeing.
Is it called Stroop Waffle?
Oh, Stroop Waffles, yeah.
Those were
unbelievable.
I need to get back to Zandvoort.
I used to
Thanks for reminding me I didn't get one. So.
Back in 2018, 2019, when we were in a London office, Tommy, I used to just buy a pack of Stroop Waffles just for bants and just eat the whole lot just whilst at lunch. It was brilliant. Some questions. Do you think Max will keep his title? The Daily Snail. What a great question. No, it's a terrible question. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Nothing is a terrible question. I'm joking. But no, Max is keeping his title. Yes, there's no debate there. It doesn't matter if the FIA came out and said Michael Masi went rogue. It still is Max's title. There's nothing that can happen
despite
now,
the void
closed.
lap 58 thing that people have now started. It's not. They can't do anything. Like
exactly.
It's not like they. Yeah. It's not like they gave the title and can do it. Like Max still overtook him on track, and then it's like it's not. However much it's not unfair, like it's really unfair on Hamilton, it would also be really extremely unfair on Max because
he did nothing wrong.
He got put in the position to like, do you want to win the title? And there's always some hilarious takes on Twitter and stuff. And I saw one that like. Max should have been gentlemanly and stayed behind it. Like, yes, a racing driver doesn't want to win his first world title when he's got the opportunity presented to him. So
he did nothing wrong. He doesn't deserve to be stripped of the title because he drove the race, and that was the hand that he was dealt. It's the FIA's problem, unfortunately. Why did the FIA publish all of that during the Ferrari launch? We kind of covered it at the start, Sagal, but essentially to hide it. What's in the box behind Matt? It's a green screen, Sam. What else have we got? Any other questions that are interesting? If you see any, guys, please do shout. What about the result? Should it be overturned? No, it's not going to be overturned, and it shouldn't be overturned. Will Lewis retire
again now? Well, he wasn't retiring.
He retire? No, I think he's come back because he knew that Michael Masi was getting fired. To be honest,
that was one of the big rumors that he demanded it to come back. That whether it's true or not, we don't know, and we'll probably never know unless I doubt he'll even say that in his book. But
someone said new race director John Cena.
I mean, he'd be a lot more forceful and just,
Are you sure about that?
That's one way to stand up to Toto and Christian, that he just scare them.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't be saying all that stuff to him, would they? If that's the thing, they knew they could get in Masi's head, didn't they?
Question, big question actually from Minnie Miller: was Michael a fool man or no? Scapegoat, I assume you mean by that, but yeah, was he the fool guy?
Who?
I don't understand the question.
Was Michael Masi the fool man? So was he taking the fall for the FIA's incompetence?
That's an interesting one. Or Netflix were there with a gun to his head.
Yeah.
There's a rule book that you need to follow, and he didn't know the rules.
Yes.
So
go on, Katy. Off you go. Keep going.
And again.
Sassy. Say it again.
Well, just look at Spa. We didn't follow the rules there, and there are quite a few other circumstances where the rules weren't followed. So, just gonna leave that there.
Love that. Let that simmer, Tommy.
No, it was his fault. However much I do feel sorry for him to a point because of not the easiest job in the world, and I definitely wouldn't want to do it. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's the one that has to make those tough decisions. Charlie Whiting did it, so and you sometimes have to. Yeah, you sometimes just have to be unpopular and just do it. So and he should have done that a lot. throughout the season. You know, when people are getting on the radio and saying this, and this, you just need to get back to them and say, STFU.
Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, U. There you go. It's a good song. Now, this is probably the biggest question of the lot, so I hope both of you are ready for this. This comes in from Hawthorne Hawk, who asks, why is Michael Masi? Thoughts?
Great question.
I just love it. And then the comment underneath, Timo just went, "Oh my god, I just ate a stroop waffle."
Whoa! Mind blown.
Someone said Tom,
That's
Tom,
amazing.
Tom, super Tom, 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 super, super Tom. I've seen some comments saying it's because of Mercedes complaining about Masi. Yeah, I think that's I'm sure that is not far from the truth. Raheel, who will be next race director? Trevor, it has been announced, and it is the names are. I've got them somewhere here. If you want to say it, here you go. Eduardo Freitas and Niles Wittich,
Yep.
who are from DTM and WEC, so they are both experienced race directors. Any other questions that we can
Get those
see?
names learnt, Katy, for your podcast rants this year.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to have any FIA rants this year.
Imagine if they're just
I feel
really
like
good and you don't have to say anything. You just be like,
No,
oh,
I'll be
yeah.
happy. I'd be really happy if they were good. Because although I enjoyed doing some of my rants because it was a bit like free therapy, it also got to the point where like every week I was having some kind of FIA rant, and I was aware that I just should shut up because it was every single podcast.
Oh dear. Some more questions I'm seeing. Jello Feliciano says, are Katie's pillows orange because of WTF1 or it came before the roll? It's a big question, that.
Well, they're actually yellow, which
So
is
there
a
you
bit
go.
of a shame.
That
like
is-
my
that's
chair.
a big shame.
But yeah, that came before WTF1.
Oh, if we'd known that, we wouldn't have hired you.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm here now, so
It's all lies.
deal
It's all
with
lies.
it.
Right, okay, I think that's pretty much sums up the Michael Masi live reaction podcast. Tommy, final thoughts?
I was going to say, thank God it's over, but it kind of isn't, and it will be going on for a long time. But I'm glad they did it, and what a shame they did it during. Why couldn't they have done it for the Mercedes launch? Because that could have been their they would have been
like,
happy to hear the result. Whereas doing it in the Ferrari launch yesterday, there was no car launch yesterday. Couldn't they have done it then?
Well, yeah, they're hiding, aren't they?
But yeah, so they wanted to hide it. I will just end with, oh my word, that Ferrari is beautiful.
Oh.
I'm actually surprised that that Mercedes didn't say that we want to announce Michael Masi's departure in our car launch. Like they could be the ones, and we're
Yeah,
pleased to
imagine.
announce, thinking the car's going to come out, Michael Masi's gone. That would be.
That's their livery.
Masi
It
is
says
our
Michael
new team
Masi's gone
principal.
on the side of the livery.
And Katie, what's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are best of luck to the new race directors. I hope
I
that
thought you were going to say
their
best of luck,
experience will
Michael
come.
Masi. No.
Oh, and Michael Masi. Have fun at the job centre, hun.
Is that best of luck?
Um,
Is that best of luck because of you, or just generally in the situation?
No, just generally. No, I'm not going to be like
Good
the
luck.
race director inspector, just like constantly critiquing them. But yeah, genuinely, best of luck. I hope that they enjoy the power and responsibility that comes with the role. And here's to a consistent and well-regulated 2022 F1 season.
I wonder what they'll do about
Yeah.
stewards and if they do anything about that as well. We'll see that if they decide to maybe get someone in a bit more permanently. We'll see. But that is a conversation for another day. My final thoughts are, it's definitely needed. It was, I think, a lot for both fans and probably Mercedes. It was something that had to be done because unfortunately it was getting out of control. Whether it would have the same results if it was Michael Masi in charge with this different structure, we don't know. But clearly the FIA don't want to take that risk. So let's see. We're open mind for 2022. And fingers crossed we get a close, entertaining season with no farces. That would be lovely.
Yes,
Right.
please.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and for listening. Please give us a like if you love us and subscribe if you are new. We are trying to get to 1 million subscribers. I know I keep saying it, but we are still trying. So therefore, it's still legit. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you very soon for another video. Bye.
Bye.
God